How's it going, guys? It's Al. We're coming at you again. Week 10 of NFL is already here. We're going to do a first look lineup on DraftKings. I'm going to take a look at all the quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, defenses, anything else you can think of. That's pretty much all I can think of. I think those are all the positions and a flex. And we're going to build a lineup. It's Monday morning at 10:30 a.m. on the Pacific Coast, the West Coast, the best coast, the correct time zone, the only legitimate time zone, this time zone. Things are going to change. This is just an exercise that I do every single week to kind of look at things, see if I can build a lineup without a lot of research, taking advantage of defenses versus position, soft spots, trying to find out some guys that might look like they're underpriced on Monday. Obviously, I come out with a ton of content throughout the week. Subscribe to this channel, hit that notifications bell so you get a little ring in your YouTube notifications or in your email inbox to let you know when I post new NFL content, NBA content, or anything else throughout the week. All my other socials linked down in the description down below. Just click show more. My stream schedule on Twitch, which is where we record this. Every single one of these videos is recorded live on Twitch. You can join us there. Obviously, you can get in the Discord if you subscribe there, which is kind of where I hang out. It's a whole good community we got going. Let's get to this week's video. We're going to take a look real quick at everything that we have. B-Man, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub. Appreciate you. Nizzles, thank you for the 3 months. Says, booyah. So we got quarterback. I mean, I know I'm not going to play him in cash games. But good God. Like, does he just have to have a bad day for other teams to have any shot at winning? Like, is that what has to happen? Like, he just has to have the worst day. Their defense also giving up a ton of points. Obviously, Cincinnati only scored 10, but 21, 23, 43. You know, Jacksonville's a mess, whatever. Denver, 23, 27, 37. So, like, we're going to stream players against Kansas City just like we've been doing all year. We played, you know, Nick Chubb. If you watch the recap video from last week, I had Nick Chubb in cash at 4,500. Got his 20-something touches, 16 points for the salary. Everybody worries that, like, players against Kansas City are going to get game flowed or game flowed out of the game because they're going to be down so much, but like they scored touchdowns, so who cares? You just keep playing players against Kansas City. I'm going to have shares of Patrick Mahomes in tournaments. I think you should too. I think you should stack him with at least 2 of his players every week. At least 2 or 3 Chiefs plus Patrick Mahomes for tournament only lineups, and give yourself the most opportunity, all the upside that this offense brings just by scoring 30 to 45 points every single week. He gets 30. Somebody scores touchdown, 2 touchdowns. Hunt, Kelsey, T. Hill, Sammy Watkins would be where I'm focusing there to get all the most volume in terms of targets and rushes and everything else. Let's see if you can't find your way to the top of a tournament. Doesn't happen every week, but it does give you a chance every week, and that's all you can ask for. But again, he's not really a cash game play for me. He's too expensive. It doesn't allow me to pay for all the other players at full PPR. You want to pay down at quarterback to get yourself the most carries, targets, touches, everything else we can get everywhere else on the field. So he's kind of out of the loop for me. Now, he's 800 more than the next quarterback, who is Aaron Rodgers, who may or may not be the GOAT. But against Miami, who plays very, very slow, Rodgers is going to have to be very, very efficient in order to pay that off. Miami, a very slow-paced team. One of the 3 slowest in the league, Arizona, one of the other ones. So I don't know if I want to pay up for Rodgers this week. Usually at 63, 64, I do like going for him. Drew Brees, I had him in tournaments this week. I preferred Goff to him in cash in week 9. Against Cincinnati, he's in consideration because of the DVP situation. But Drew Brees on the road, added to the Saints becoming a heavy run team. Obviously against the Rams, they were targeting Peters, and they just abused him over and over and over again throughout the day, and they were at home. I think this is a fallback spot for Drew Brees, where he doesn't have 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. This was vintage Drew Brees in the Dome. I think we see something more along these lines, not this. You know, something more along these lines, which is nice, but it's not this. You know, at Atlanta in a dome. At Cincinnati outdoors, this offense, they want to run the ball. They want to pound it. Probably not going to have Drew Brees in cash this week. Matt Ryan against Cleveland. he's just been crushing it, to be honest with you. As much as he is against my personal meta of how I play daily fantasy, I don't really like playing Matt Ryan because historically he hasn't had very much upside except for the one season. This year, he has had it. He's not been a 30-point guy in previous years. He's got 5 games above 30 points this year. He did not have this ceiling except for, what was it, the 2015 or 2016 year? Where every single, his MVP season where every week he was throwing for like 350 and 3 touchdowns. Can't really do that now. He's doing it consistently. Jared Goff has had 2 fantastic weeks in a row, 30 points, and they DraftKings, being very on top of things, bumped his salary all the way from $6,000 to $6,100 against Seattle. $100? You raised his salary by $100. Why? I don't get it. He's underpriced. Very simply. My issue, I don't know if he's underpriced for this matchup. Because my issue is the Seattle Seahawks want to run the ball a ton. He can obviously pay this off. Needs 18 points. Could get 18 to 24 pretty easily. Obviously, averages 24. But we see massive differences between his lines when opposing teams score more than 20 points as opposed to his lines when opposing teams don't. This was the one game at Denver where he did not have that. 31 here, he throws for 321 and a touchdown. 31 here, he throws for 465, 5 touchdowns. 23 here, 3 touchdowns. 0 here, 1 touchdown. 13 here, 17 fantasy points. 45 here, 3 touchdowns, 391. Seattle has been scoring a ton of points and a ton of points through the air on very few throws. I'm a little scared to use Goff in cash this week. I think I look elsewhere. Phillip Rivers against Oakland. I think this might be a solid play. 6,000 in that same range. All these guys are kind of bunched, right? We've talked about this for the last few weeks. DraftKings just kind of bunching all the quarterbacks between 5,500 and 6,400 for the, for 80% of the quarterbacks on the slate. Not much differentiation. Andy Dalton has lost pretty much all of his weapons. Fitzpatrick throwing a ton. Washington a pretty solid matchup, but they've been getting burned on the outside. Really good against the run. That's okay. The Bucs can't run it anyway. So those kind of things kind of fit together for me. Wilson against the Rams. Obviously, if Aqib Talib is back, this changes my outlook on Russ Wilson. He threw it this week. He hasn't thrown it these weeks, and he's been extremely efficient. Multiple touchdowns in each of the last 4 games. And they dropped one at the end on him, too. He could have had 3 touchdowns in 4 straight games here. I would love it if his line looked more like this every week, as opposed to 17, 23, and 21 attempts. Obviously, with Carson banged up last week, they went with more of a running back by committee approach. But I think that there's some cheaper quarterbacks that are very interesting for cash this week. Baker Mayfield at 5,400 gives you that extra 600 or 700 off the 6,000, 6,100 guys. Has had 14 or more fantasy points in each of the last 4 games. Was this the game that he subbed? No, he subbed here. So like he's kind of lived in that range. Hasn't really had a ceiling game. With the change in coaching staffs and the inclusion of Duke Johnson last week with 9 targets against the Chiefs, and now they get Atlanta, who allows catches to everybody in the middle of the field. They want to allow you to catch and tackle. Well, they still allow everybody to catch, and now their linebackers are all hurt and they can't tackle. So Duke Johnson could be in for a massive week, which gives Baker Mayfield a really high floor. And Njoku also operates in the middle of the field, gives him a higher ceiling, in my opinion, against Atlanta than he might otherwise normally have if he can get free in the middle. And Jarvis Landry, a wide receiver who has operated on the Browns way more outside than in previous years when he was on Miami, is a middle of the field target. Baker Mayfield could have a very, very good day at 5,400. If you want to get real freaky with it, though, opposing teams when behind by 7 or more points throw the ball 73+% of the time. Against the Chiefs, teams are throwing the ball over 68, 69% of the time. Josh Rosen is not going to be able to play at the slow pace that the Arizona Cardinals have wanted to play this year. going up against Kansas City in Kansas City. Now, he could have an absolute bomb of a day and lay an absolute egg on the field, right? It could happen. It could happen. But he could do this too. He could get you 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. I understand if you don't see 4 touchdown upside here. I do. I understand if you don't see 3 touchdown upside here. I think he's a good play for the money. I think he is fringe cash game viable at a first look. And I think that he is also tournament viable from a matchup standpoint and a game flow, expected game flow standpoint. They're massive dogs. They're in Kansas City. Kansas City's defense, however, also in play for me this week going up against rookie. I love streaming defenses against rookies. So for me, I think it's Mayfield and I'm going to deal with it. Now, usually, we want to just stuff in Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley had his first down game of the year. His worst game of the year was 19.9 fantasy points and his salary came down. They just made him less money. Remember I told you last week that Alvin Kamara was mispriced at 7,300? Well, they rectified that real quick. He's back up to 87. I thought he should be around 85, 84 to 8,700. So he's priced appropriately now. So at least when you make a decision on him, you know you're paying the going rate. If you faded Kamara last week, I'm sorry. But at least if you faded him for any of the other 7K running backs, they all did fine anyway. But like realistically speaking, you should have had Alvin Kamara in your lineup. He was the number one of those 7K running backs, at least to me. Melvin Gordon III, somebody that I do want to play this week. Really do. Just does what he does. Gets great volume. Has a fantastic matchup. Still utilized in the passing game. 20 points plus in every game except one. We talk about trying to get 150 points for cash games on DraftKings, which essentially means you need 3 times the salary of every player that you have in your lineup. If they all 3x their salary, then you get your 150 points. Take that for what it is. He's averaging more than 3x his salary. So if he just gets an average game here, if he just gets his 26, 27 fantasy points, he pays off his salary at 9,000. I think Gurley's in play. I think Gordon's in play. I think Kamara's in play. Kareem Hunt against Arizona. Arizona giving up yards in chunks to running backs as well. Kareem Hunt, you guys know how I feel about the Chiefs offense. Just find reasons to get him in. He comes at a little bit of a discount from somebody like Gordon, somebody like Gurley as well. Joe Mixon, I'm not thrilled. David Johnson. Kansas City just gives up so many yards. They said they want to get the ball more to David Johnson. They did get him 20 touches in the last game. He did have 4 catches. I think he's in play at 6,800. I haven't decided if he's a core play for me yet. We'll get to something else about that in a minute. Leonard Fournette, always hurt. Adrian Peterson, I think, is definitely in play against Tampa Bay. I might start there. Nick Chubb, we saw the touches that he got last week. Not much usage in the passing game. This concerns me against Atlanta. He might catch 2 or 3 balls this week. Might. But he's realistically a pounder, but he's very good at being a pounder, averaging the most yards after contact in the league right now. And the more opportunities that he gets at home, even though they're going to be a big dog here, the game flow does seem to favor Duke Johnson. This right here, guys. This is why we're targeting Duke Johnson. No team in the league gives up more catches and more yards to opposing running backs than Atlanta. Duke Johnson getting 9 targets last week after the coaching change, the regime change. They're getting him on the field more. They're getting him involved in the offense more, which I also think is very good for Baker Mayfield, having a pass-catching running back to throw to and check down to when there aren't things down the field for him. If Duke Johnson plays his complement of snaps that we think he should play in a game flow negative situation with another running back on the team that is not used at all in the passing game, Duke Johnson should theoretically see 6 to 8 targets in this game. They're very catchable targets, and he is an explosive player that can break one. Not hard to pay off this 4,700 salary. If he has 5 catches for 50 yards, that's already 10 points. He needs about 14. 5 catches, 50 yards. 10 points without getting into the end zone. If any of the other stuff happens, if he gets 3-4 carries for 15 yards. If he catches 6 or 7 balls for 70 yards, he's paid off the salary without scoring a touchdown. I like the volume here. I like the matchup. It's not my normal philosophy for cash to get a low touch running back. I'm going to see if I can find somebody else. It's very easy to get somebody else. If you want to go up to like David Johnson at 6,800, knowing you're going to get your 20 touches, I'm okay with that too. But for a first look, I want to pick on Atlanta, especially with a guy who's going to catch the ball. Wide receivers, let's plug in our defense. We always plug in like a 3K defense. Is there any like defenses that we like that are cheaper? Dolphins went off last week. Patriots against Tennessee. Colts, Jacksonville. Why are they 2,400? Give me a second. Does it show sacks? No. Nobody gets sacked more than Russ Wilson. The pressure upside is massive here. I'm actually going to do something different. I'm not going to pick a 3K defense. I'm just going to plug the Rams in at 2,400 at home. Massive favorite going up against Seattle, who doesn't drop back a ton, but it's probably going to have to against the Rams. And that offensive line could theoretically get very, very exposed. Tight ends, all the way at the top, Travis Kelce. Gronk has just been ridiculously injured. Kelce is great. Don't know if I can fit him this week at 7,000. OJ Howard. Been real good, but that price has come way up. It's been real good. That price is now matching it. Y'all know how I feel about Jared Cook. Don't at me. Jimmy Graham, solid. Just sitting kind of at that price point. Again, slow pace for them. I'd rather come down and pay for a wide receiver like MVS rather than pay up for him. Njoku, we already talked about how I feel about him. I think that he's at a good price point here, especially with the matchup. Trey Burton, just not getting the volume that we need, even with Allen Robinson out this week. Again, it was against a team that was playing from way behind. They weren't going to throw the ball a ton. Hooper, same idea, just not going to get the volume. We talked about how this was an anomaly. These 10 and 12 targets, that this is more who he is, and that's what he went back to. I'm not shocked that Austin Hooper turned back into a pumpkin. You know, like, oh yeah, Austin Hooper, he's going to get like, he's more involved in the passing game now, Al. He's going to get like 8 targets a game moving forward. Nope. Austin Hooper is Austin Hooper. When somebody tells you who they are, believe them. We have a large enough sample size to know who Austin Hooper is. On a weird week, he can have a massive week. He can. You know, he's athletic enough to break a long touchdown. He is. Good luck picking when that's going to be, especially with no injuries. Mr. Benjamin Watson, Lincoln Heights' own, just keeps doing it. 3,400. Cincinnati, giving up points in chunks to tight ends. I don't hate Herndon for the price. If he keeps getting utilized this much, 4, 5, 6, if he gets Hooper usage. See, there's a difference to me with Herndon getting Hooper usage at that price at 3,000 or 3,100 versus Hooper getting Hooper usage at 3,800. People are paying up for, you know, for the same thing that you could get for the same price that's lower. Are there any super cheap tight ends this week? Gesicki against Green Bay. DeValve, no thank you. Josh Hill. You think Burton's okay? I mean, he's okay. I'm not mad at Trey Burton. I'm just disappointed in Trey Burton. I was expecting legitimately 7-8 targets a week. Moving to this offense, them going out and getting him in free agency, and Robinson being out. This was obviously an outlier. But like expecting 6 to 8 targets a week, which he has not done once this year. He's getting half the volume that I thought he would get. And he's on the field a ton. He's just not involved. That's just not where they run plays to get him open. He is playing with Mitch. True. I agree that this week was not his fault, right? But like, I'm talking to my chat, YouTube, so this is what we're doing. I agree this is not his fault. But is this? When you look at the entire, like if you take one piece of the mosaic and you look at that one tile, well, you know, that one game, he didn't have this. But like, when you step back and see the entire mosaic and what the picture looks like, this looks a lot similar. All these weeks look real similar. You know, like I said, he's okay at 3,900. I think he's got more touchdown upside because of less offensive weapons on the Bears versus like Hooper on Atlanta. Even though Atlanta's in a better offensive environment, he gets more red zone love. I think I prefer Burton to Hooper, but they're both kind of what they are. Is Watson getting enough? So, but again, like Watson and Herndon getting the same usage for way less money. Getting the same usage. 4, 7. These 2s are alarming. For first look, I don't hate Ben Watson here. I kind of don't. Don't really hate EBRON either. I think I'm going to go Njoku, though, for first look. They don't utilize Burton. Exactly my point. RSJ against Kansas City. Let's get to this. Against Kansas City, we do want to target somebody. They did change the offense back. I want to go with old Larry Fitz. Old man value, baby. 5,400. Not expecting 12 targets, but 8's going to be enough. They're going to be behind. They're going to be throwing. He's running most of his routes out of the slot. He's going to get peppered. I think he could catch 5, 6 balls. I think he should top that, you know, maybe not 102, but should top this 40 and 39. Kansas City's defense, very exploitable. I do like this situation for Larry Fitzgerald, and the price, to me, looks extremely forgiving. I think that he's in an absolutely great spot. I don't hate this situation. Somebody that I do want to plug in there. Evan Silva is happy about this. I hope so. Evan's a good dude. Where else can we go? Julio Jones, the much maligned Julio Jones, found his way into the end zone. Nobody cares, but he's had 3 really good weeks in a row, guys. I never play Julio. I'm never going to pay up for Julio again. Drops 320 burgers on you 3 weeks in a row. Like, that's what you want out of Julio. The consistency of targets. They'll turn into touchdowns eventually. They may not be end zone targets, but they should be. But averaging 116 yards per game, 100-yard games, getting that bonus in 3 straight games, 8,300, price isn't bad. By the way, I'm just going to do that. I already talked about Melvin Gordon. I'm getting him in my lineups this week. That leaves us with 6,600 for wide receivers. We can go up top and cheap, or we can go double middle. AJ in a walking boot might miss this week. To be honest, I don't know if that helps Boyd. I really don't. And a lot of people, well, that guy's out, so now Boyd is like the only guy because Ross still questionable, and they got like just a bunch of guys, right? But Tyler Boyd has been living in the slot and doing most of his work and his damage there. If they have to move him outside to cover, for AJ Green being missing, I think that hurts him because the matchup is what you want. New Orleans against slot receivers, them in Tampa Bay is where we want to attack with slot wide receivers. Tyler Boyd has been fantastic. I don't hate it. I'd rather him run his snaps from the slot. Hopefully we'll get some I don't know, clarification on that as the week goes on. T.Y. Hilton, 5,700 against Jacksonville. Tough matchup. Marvin Jones Jr., 5,500. Sammy Watkins, Sanu, Baldwin, Golladay, MVS, 5K. It's been solid. As long as Allison is out, I like MVS. Golladay, disappointing for 3 straight weeks. No volume. Marvin Jones Jr., solid targets the last 2 weeks. Also leading the league in end zone targets. They're bad. I don't hate this for 5,500 though. Top running backs in 6 spots. They are. See, and like that's why I think I don't want to do Duke on this first look lineup. I'd rather do that. But I don't know if I want 2 Arizona players is really the problem. I'd rather do that. Leave me with 4,700. And as we know, value is always going to open up throughout the week. So we got to find a couple of cheapies, right? I do like Scantling, assuming that Allison's out. Not going with the second player there. Tyler Lockett. Been okay this year. Westbrook, Moncrief, Humphreys from Tampa Bay. He was the cheat code this week. Corey Davis at 4,500 against New England. Kind of interesting. Are there any like cheap wide receivers who like look okay? Hashtag brand. That leaves us with 4,900 for one more wide receiver. Is Ross going to be back this week? It's ugly, but versus Tampa Bay. You saying the Washington receivers? Doxson, Crowder, Harris. Who plays the slot? Harris? Is he in the slot? I think that he's been playing the slot with Crowder out. Because that's what we want to attack. Leaves us with 1,000. Doesn't really let us get up to anything. That 1,000's got to be spent somewhere. Is there a 5,500 running wide receiver that we can use over the Gazelle? Can get Marvin. Touchdown upside against Chicago. This last receiver. See, this is the same spot I was in last week. If I stay with Terrell and come up off of Harris, that leaves us with 4,900. Deshaun, go back to Deshaun and go for the upside with as much as they throw deep. CPAT running the ball a ton. That's not a bad shout, but just there's no pass game upside with him. Deshaun Jackson with the revenge game. That's true. We can get a little revenge game narrative. I like the targets here. We're going to have something happen here and here. I love the touches between Adrian Peterson going against Tampa Bay. Kareem Hunt should get his 20-plus touches. Melvin Gordon should get his 20-plus touches. That leaves us with 65-plus, possibly 70-plus touches out of our running backs. Baker Mayfield throwing the ball. Njoku paired up with him. The Rams defense at home against Seattle getting a lot of pressure. We have upside with Terrell Williams going against Oakland's weakened defensive backfield and giving us D-Jacks with some shots down the field. I think it's a pretty solid first look lineup, giving us a good floor with the running backs. Very big possibility of upside with the wide receivers. Hopefully something opens up as the week goes on to allow us a little bit more target floor from the wide receivers that we can find in the 4,500 and down range. Maybe we'll find that. Maybe we won't. But please tune into the rest of the content that I put in throughout the week. Wednesday, I write my article. Thursday, that comes out on ESPN Plus. It's called Best Buys. You can Google it and find it every single week. Daily Fantasy Edge comes out on Thursday also with myself and Peter and Adam Levitan. Fridays, we're right live on Twitch with an hour-long question and answer. Chat's always locked to subs only, so please get over to Twitch and subscribe to the channel because I'd love to meet you over there. And then Sunday morning, the Anti-Tinkercast. All the way up until lock, last 45 minutes. I'll see you guys there. Until then, there's the sub button. There's another video. And I'll catch you guys later. Bye.